At the two-story colonial house at 1247, Oak Street, 68-year-old Patricia Hawk Mitchell was on babysitting duty for her granddaughter Emma, 8, and grandson Jake, 5. At 8:30 p.m., as always, it was time to put the children to bed. Patricia sat in a comfortable armchair between the twin beds in Emma's room, reading The Three Little Pigs. Emma in pink pajamas on the left, Jake in blue dinosaur pajamas on the right, both listening to their grandmother's calm voice. And the wolf huffed and puffed. As Patricia read, her ear caught an unusual sound from downstairs. The front door lock, a picking sound. Professional. Silent. Patricia's heart raced but her voice showed no change. 30 years of military training automatically kicked in. She slowly closed the book and whispered to the children, "Once upon a time, there was a grandmother who taught her grandchildren a very special game called Hide and Seek, Survival Edition." Emma asked curiously. "Grandma, that's not how the pig story ends." Patricia smiled, but her eyes had shifted to cold calculation mode. "Tonight, sweetheart, we're going to play a different kind of story. Remember the special hiding place I showed you last month?" Jake excitedly, "The one behind the secret panel in your closet?" "Exactly. And remember the magic word that means game time?" Emma thinking, "Code red?" "Perfect. Now, when Grandma says those magic words, you both run to the special place and stay there until I come get you. No matter what sounds you hear, you stay hidden until Grandma gives the all-clear signal." The children nodded excitedly. Grandma's games were always the most fun. Footsteps were coming from downstairs. 3 men. Light. Professional movement. Old voices echoed in Patricia's mind. "Colonel Mitchell, civilian extraction protocols remain the same, protect innocent lives at all cost." The children just thought they were playing a game with their sweet grandmother. They had no idea that Patricia Hawk Mitchell, the Army Special Forces' deadliest female commander, was about to return to war after 15 years of retirement. Smash that subscribe button if you're obsessed with badass grandmothers, family protection stories, and retired colonels who turn bedtime into survival training. Was Patricia just a sweet grandma or the Army's deadliest female commander? Why did kidnappers target her family, and how will survival games save innocent children? Drop your wildest theories below and destroy that like button. Every like tells us you want more insane stories about grandparents who could eliminate entire armies. For 15 years, Patricia Mitchell had been the perfect grandmother. She baked cookies, attended school plays, taught Emma how to braid hair, and showed Jake how to throw a baseball. Her neighbors knew her as the sweet widow who kept the most beautiful garden on Oak Street. What they didn't know was that before becoming Grandma Patricia, she had been Colonel Patricia Hawk Mitchell, the first woman to command a Special Forces A-team, with 3 combat deployments and a classified record of successful operations that would remain sealed for another 20 years. But Patricia had never completely left the military behind. Over the years, she had taught her grandchildren what she called games, fun activities that were actually survival training disguised as play. The quiet mouse game taught them how to move silently through the house. The hide-and-seek championships had shown them every concealment spot in the building. The secret agent training had taught them basic situational awareness and emergency protocols. Emma and Jake thought Grandma just had the best imagination. They had no idea their games were based on techniques Patricia had learned at Fort Bragg and perfected in Afghanistan. Tonight, those games would save their lives. "Code red," Patricia whispered. Both children immediately dropped to the floor and began crawling toward Patricia's bedroom, just as they'd practiced dozens of times. They thought it was the start of their favorite game. Patricia knew it was the beginning of the most important mission of her life. As the children disappeared into her closet's hidden panel, a modification Patricia had made for storage, but actually designed as a safe room, she moved to her dresser and opened what appeared to be a jewelry box. Inside, beneath a false bottom, were items that had no place in a grandmother's bedroom: a secure satellite phone, tactical radio, ceramic knife, and a Sig Sauer P320 that she'd maintained religiously despite hoping never to need it again. Patricia activated the satellite phone and sent a coded message to a number she hadn't used in 5 years. Within seconds, she received a response: "Hawk, this is Overwatch. Package confirmed. What's your situation? 3 hostels, ground floor. 2 precious cargo, secured. Need immediate tactical support. Backup en route. ETA 12 minutes. Rules of engagement." Patricia looked toward her closet, where her grandchildren were hidden, trusting their grandmother to keep them safe. She thought about her son David, the federal prosecutor who had been receiving death threats for months. She thought about the family that had become her entire world after retirement. Overwatch, rules of engagement are simple: no one threatens my family. The 3 men who had entered Patricia's house were not random criminals. They were Marcus Volkov, Chen Wei, and Roberto Santos, professional kidnappers with military backgrounds who specialized in high-value targets. Their mission was simple: take the grandchildren of federal prosecutor David Mitchell, use them as leverage to force him to dismiss the case against the Kozlov crime family, then disappear before law enforcement could respond. They had studied the target house for weeks. Elderly woman, 2 small children, quiet suburban neighborhood. Standard home invasion protocols should handle the situation within 10 minutes. What their intelligence hadn't revealed was that the elderly woman was a former Special Forces colonel with more combat experience than all 3 of them combined. Marcus, the team leader, moved through the first floor with professional precision. The house was quiet, normal. Kitchen clean, living room tidy, television still playing quietly in the family room. Ground floor clear, he whispered into his radio. Moving to second floor. Chen and Santos positioned themselves to cover exits while Marcus climbed the stairs. The children's bedrooms were empty, but lights were on. Recent activity. Targets should be in the master bedroom, Chen's voice crackled through the radio. Grandmother probably has them with her. Marcus approached the master bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. He could see movement inside, someone moving around, probably getting the children ready to hide. He kicked the door open and entered with his weapon raised. The bedroom appeared empty. That should have been his first warning. Patricia had been expecting the door kick. 15 years of retirement hadn't diminished her tactical instincts or her ability to predict how armed intruders would move through an unfamiliar building. She was positioned behind the bedroom door when Marcus entered, giving her the precious seconds she needed to assess the threat and respond with controlled violence. The ceramic knife found the pressure point on Marcus's neck before he could process what was happening. He was unconscious and disarmed before his teammates realized something was wrong. "Marcus, report," Chen's voice came through the radio Patricia now held. Patricia activated the radio with Marcus's unconscious finger pressed to the biometric scanner. "Ground floor clear," she said in a gruff whisper that approximated Marcus's voice. "Moving to secure targets." "Copy that. We'll maintain perimeter." Patricia smiled grimly. These professionals were about to learn why the army had given her the call sign Hawk. She hunted from above, struck without warning, and always protected her territory. She zip-tied Marcus with cable ties she kept in her nightstand for organizing cables, actually tactical restraints she'd never removed from her gear. Then she began moving through her own house like a predator stalking prey. The advantage was entirely hers. She knew every floorboard that creaked, every door that stuck, every sight line and shadow. This was her home, her territory, her family to protect. Chen was positioned at the back door, watching the yard. He never saw Patricia approach through the laundry room, never felt the pressure point technique that dropped him unconscious, never knew that a grandmother in a floral nightgown had just eliminated him using skills learned in classified operations. 2 down. 1 to go. Roberto Santos was beginning to realize that something was very wrong. His teammates hadn't checked in for 8 minutes, and the house was too quiet for a successful kidnapping operation. He began moving through the first floor more cautiously, weapon ready, senses alert. This was supposed to be a simple grab-and-go operation. Take the kids, make the phone call, collect the payment. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. "Marcus, Chen, report immediately," he whispered into his radio. Silence. Santos reached for his cell phone to call for backup, but a voice from the shadows stopped him cold. "Mr. Santos, I presume." He spun toward the voice, weapon raised, but saw only an elderly woman in a nightgown standing in the doorway between the kitchen and living room. "Where are my partners?" he demanded. "Sleeping," Patricia replied calmly. "Just like you're about to be." Santos almost laughed. "Lady, I don't want to hurt you, but I will if you don't tell me where those kids are." Patricia's expression didn't change. "Mr. Santos, you made two critical errors tonight. First, you threatened my grandchildren. Second, you assumed that a 68-year-old woman would be helpless. Look, Grandma, I've got military training. Don't make me. Airborne? Rangers? Marines?" Patricia interrupted. Santos was confused by the question. "Marines, but how did you?" "I'm Army Special Forces, Mr. Santos. We're the ones who train the people who train Marines." The realization hit Santos like a physical blow. He was facing someone with more combat experience, better tactical training, and home field advantage. More importantly, he was facing someone who was fighting to protect her family. He raised his weapon, but Patricia was already moving. What followed was a textbook demonstration of why Special Forces operators are considered the most elite warriors in the world. Patricia used every advantage available: superior training, intimate knowledge of the environment, tactical equipment disguised as household items, and most importantly, the absolute determination of a grandmother protecting her grandchildren. Santos found himself in a running battle through a suburban home with someone who fought like she was defending a firebase in Afghanistan. Because, in her mind, she was. Patricia used kitchen knives as throwing weapons, furniture as cover, and her knowledge of the house's architecture to appear and disappear like a ghost. Santos was hunting a target who seemed to anticipate his every move. The engagement ended in the living room, where Patricia used a combination of furniture placement and lighting to create a tactical advantage that allowed her to neutralize Santos without firing a shot. 3 professional kidnappers. 3 unconscious prisoners secured with zip ties and duct tape. 0 harm to the precious cargo she was protecting. Patricia activated her satellite phone. "Overwatch, this is Hawk. 3 tangos neutralized. Precious cargo secure. Requesting cleanup and extraction. Hawk, this is Command. Outstanding work. Federal agents are en route for prisoner transfer. How copy? Solid copy, Command. Family is safe." Patricia walked to her bedroom closet and opened the hidden panel. 2 frightened faces looked up at her. "Is the game over, Grandma?" Jake whispered. Patricia smiled, her voice returning to the gentle tone her grandchildren knew and loved. "Yes, sweetheart. The good guys won." When FBI agents arrived at the scene, they found 3 unconscious kidnappers secured with professional precision, and a grandmother in a floral nightgown calmly making hot chocolate for her grandchildren. Special Agent Sarah Chen, who had been briefed on Patricia's classified background during the drive to the scene, studied the tactical efficiency of what had occurred. "Colonel Mitchell," she said quietly, "this is impressive work." "Retired Colonel," Patricia corrected. "And it's just Grandma now." Emma looked up from her hot chocolate. "Grandma, those men were real bad guys, weren't they?" Patricia knelt down to Emma's eye level. "Yes, sweetheart. But remember what I always tell you. Good guys always win when they protect their family," Emma recited. "That's right. And do you know why?" Jake raised his hand like he was in school. "Because love makes you stronger than being mean." Patricia hugged both children. "Exactly right." Agent Chen observed the interaction with growing respect. This wasn't just a decorated military officer who had successfully defended her home. This was a grandmother who had managed to protect her grandchildren's innocence even while eliminating professional threats. "Mrs. Mitchell," Agent Chen said, "we're going to need to discuss some security arrangements for your family. This attack was connected to your son's prosecution of organized crime." Patricia nodded. "Agent Chen, my family's safety is non-negotiable. What do you need from me?" "Actually, ma'am, we'd like to offer you a consulting position. Protective services for federal prosecutors and their families. Your unique combination of skills could be valuable." Emma tugged on Patricia's nightgown. "Grandma, are you going to have a job again?" Patricia considered the offer. She had spent 15 years being the perfect grandmother. But tonight had reminded her that some skills were too important to retire completely. "Emma, would you like it if Grandma had a job protecting other families like ours? Like being a superhero grandma?" Patricia laughed. "Something like that." 3 months later, Patricia Mitchell had officially become a federal consultant specializing in family protection services. Her cover remained the same, sweet grandmother who lived on Oak Street, but now she also coordinated security for federal prosecutors, judges, and other officials whose families faced threats. Her first assignment had been protecting the family of the prosecutor handling the Kozlov case, her own son, David. The irony wasn't lost on anyone involved. Patricia had set up a sophisticated security network using other retired military personnel who, like her, had been living quiet civilian lives but retained the skills and dedication to protect innocent families. Grandma's Angels, Emma had named them, and somehow the designation had stuck in federal files. But Patricia's most important job remained unchanged, being grandma to Emma and Jake. "Tell us the story about the night you protected us," Jake requested during their weekly sleepover. Patricia settled into her familiar chair between their beds. "Once upon a time," she began, "there was a grandmother who loved her grandchildren more than anything in the world. And she was secretly a superhero," Emma added. "She was secretly someone who would do anything to keep her family safe," Patricia corrected gently. "Just like every parent and grandparent should be." "Will you teach us more survival games?" Jake asked. Patricia considered this. Emma and Jake were older now, more mature. They understood that their grandmother wasn't quite like other grandmothers. "I'll teach you whatever you need to know to be safe and strong," she said. "But remember, the most important lesson isn't about fighting. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves." "Like how you protected us," Emma said. "Like how you'll protect others someday, if you choose to." As Patricia tucked them in, she reflected on the strange path her life had taken. She had been a warrior, then a grandmother, and now she was both. 2 years later, Emma Mitchell, now 10 years old, was the top student in her school's new Personal Safety and Emergency Preparedness program. The program had been developed by a consulting firm run by retired military personnel who specialized in teaching children practical safety skills through age-appropriate activities and games. Emma didn't know that her grandmother had designed the entire curriculum. Jake, now 7, was the undisputed champion of the school's hide-and-seek competitions, though he could never explain why he was so much better at finding hiding spots than the other kids. He didn't know that his skills came from games his grandmother had taught him based on techniques learned in classified military operations. Both children understood that their family was special, that their grandmother wasn't quite like other grandmothers, and that the games they played were more important than regular games. But they also understood that being special meant using your abilities to help others, not to show off or intimidate. Patricia Mitchell continued her dual life, federal security consultant by day, loving grandmother always. She had found the perfect balance between her past as a warrior and her present as a family protector. Some people retire from military service and try to forget their training. Others find ways to use their skills in service of something even more important than national security, family security. Patricia had learned that the greatest mission of her life wasn't the classified operations she'd conducted in foreign countries. It was ensuring that her grandchildren grew up safe, strong, and capable of protecting others. At family gatherings, when relatives asked Patricia about her consulting work, she would smile and say she helped families stay safe. When Emma and Jake asked about her old army job, she would tell them she had learned important skills that she now used to protect people she loved. And when former military colleagues asked how she had transitioned to civilian life so successfully, Patricia would tell them the truth: she hadn't stopped being a soldier. She had just found a more important mission. Because some wars are fought on foreign battlefields for abstract principles. But the most important battles are fought in suburban homes for concrete people, grandchildren who need bedtime stories, children who need protection, families who need someone willing to stand between them and danger. Patricia Hawk Mitchell had found her perfect assignment, a mission where tactical expertise and grandmotherly love weren't contradictory qualities, but complementary strengths. The army had taught her how to be a warrior. Her grandchildren had taught her why warriors exist: to protect innocent people who trust them to keep them safe. And every night, as she tucked Emma and Jake into bed and told them stories about brave people who protected others, Patricia knew she was preparing the next generation to carry on the family legacy of service, protection, and love. Some legacies are passed down through medals and commendations. Others are passed down through bedtime stories and survival games. Patricia Mitchell was passing down both, ensuring that her grandchildren would grow up understanding that true strength comes not from the ability to harm others, but from the willingness to protect them. The best warriors, she had learned, are often grandmothers in floral nightgowns who will do absolutely any tea.